I, Mark Carney, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty, King Charles III, King of Canada, his heirs and successors.
A new Prime Minister for Canada. Mark Carney officially sworn in at Rideau Hall.
Tonight, mapping out the PM's next moves and revealing his cabinet in a critical time for this country. Good evening. It was a historic day in Ottawa, marking a new chapter in Canadian history. Mark Carney is now Canada's 24th Prime Minister, and with an election looming and an ongoing trade war, there is no shortage of challenges facing the new leader. CTV's Rachel Aiello begins our coverage tonight.
Mark Carney became Canada's 24th Prime Minister today. Presenting his new government to the Governor-General, Carney vowed to meet the moment.
I, Mark Carney, do solemnly and sincerely promise and swear that I will truly and faithfully, and to the best of my skill and knowledge, execute the powers and trust reposed in me as Prime Minister.
Before the ceremony got underway, Justin Trudeau resigned privately. A muted end after a grand beginning to his near decade in power.
Congratulations, Prime Minister.
Now, Carney is looking to turn the page, removing several Trudeau-era ministers and walking away from gender parity. Carney's cabinet includes 23 people, 12 men and 11 women. Among the major moves, François-Philippe Champagne takes on the key finance portfolio. Stephen Guilbeault has lost the climate file, moving into a new role focused on Canadian culture and identity. And Kamal Khera, said to be a top party fundraiser, is now the health minister. Carney has also promoted 3 rookie MPs. Nova Scotian Cody Blois is in, as are Ontario MPs Ariel Kayabega and Ali Assassi. Maine Liberal leadership rival Chrystia Freeland is also back in the fold, accepting a lower position than she's held in years. But how long this cabinet will be in place is a big question. In his first press conference as Prime Minister, Carney said Canadians should expect to go to the polls early.
There will be other news in the coming days with respect to ensuring that we have as strong a mandate that is needed for the time.
Jagmeet Singh says before that happens, he's willing to buy Carney a bit more time.
We want to see a plan put in place rapidly to create jobs in Canada, and then we can go to election.
But Pierre Poilievre, whose campaign against Carney is already well underway, said he's ready for Canadians to have their say.
Mark Carney thinks Canadians are stupid. He thinks that a little bit of cosmetic surgery will allow the Liberals to disguise who they are and make people forget what they did for 10 years in order to elect them to a 4th Liberal term.
Carney confirmed today his first trip as Prime Minister will be to Europe. And his inner circle is also working on getting him on the phone with U.S. President Donald Trump in the next couple of days. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Ottawa.
And in his first order as Prime Minister, Mark Carney's eliminated the highly controversial consumer carbon tax. The order in council signed by Carney will end the levy April 1st. The policy has been deeply unpopular and has been the focus of conservative attacks on the Liberals for more than 2 years. And lots of reaction tonight to our new Prime Minister and the challenges that lie ahead. CTV's Mike Walker joins us live with that side of the story. Mike.
Well, Nathan, it was just 2 days ago that Mark Carney met with Premier Doug Ford at this restaurant here in Rexdale. Customers here tell us the trade war and affordability are the top issues for them, and there's mixed reaction about Mark Carney now being Prime Minister.
I, Mark Carney.
A major change in Ottawa on the screen and the minds of customers at this Rexdale restaurant as Mark Carney is officially sworn in as Prime Minister amid a trade war with the U.S.
We need somebody that's a business-oriented, fiscally responsible individual, and Carney fits that bill for me.
Oh, he's got to stand up to Trump for sure.
But some, like Wendy, a retired banker, are not sure what to make of the former governor of the Bank of Canada and novice politician, who rose to power after winning the Liberal leadership in a landslide victory.
Well, we got to do better than Trudeau. I don't know a lot about him, honestly.
I don't really know anything about him. He's come in, but nobody voted for him. So that's my biggest concern.
It was at this restaurant on Wednesday Carney met with Premier Doug Ford. Bert was here that day and is feeling positive about the change in government.
There'll be a good, strong team that goes to work in Ottawa. and then they're going to work with the rest of the world in harmony.
But others have a different opinion, with a general election on the horizon and the Conservatives and Liberals neck and neck in the polls.
The lesser of all evils, so the carbon tax, if Carney's going to leave it in, then I'm voting Conservative. If he takes it off, I'm up in the air as to what I'm doing.
The trade war was the focus of the conversation between Carney and Ford when they met here. It's top of mind for many customers.
We're worried about our investments.
Who are looking for how a Carney government will respond.
I think he should concentrate on diversifying away from the U.S.
The owner of Wally's Grill already dealing with the effects of tariffs.
A lot of our produce comes from the U.S. Some products we've tried to find Canadian alternatives, but prices go up.
But aside from the trade war, many say they are ready for Carney to call an election.
He should have a seat if he wants to be in Parliament.
How soon would you like an election to be?
Tomorrow.
And why is that?
Because I think we need some change in our government.
Because I think the people should be the ones who choose.
And that is something we heard time and time again from just about everyone we spoke with. They are hoping that an election is called in the immediate future so Canadians can decide who is best to lead the country in this ongoing trade war. And it's widely expected that that election call will be made in the coming days. Reporting live, I'm Mike Walker. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Mike. Also tonight, Ontario's top court doesn't backpedal, and the wheels of the Premier's plan to remove some Toronto bike lanes does not fall off. Details coming up.
But first, let's go outside for a live look at the city on this beautiful Friday. The sun is setting on the last day of March break for the kids, a week that certainly did feel like spring. Jessica Smith is here with a first look at the forecast, and Jess, the run of sun was lovely while it lasted.
Right, a beautiful day today, some high-level clouds out there, but we are in store for some rain on and off to start the weekend. And to wrap things up, we're looking at a significant amount of rain thanks to a Colorado low making its way in. For now, though, holding on to just that little hint of sunshine as we get ready to wrap up our day. And temperature-wise, it remains quite mild. We're sitting at 18 through London, 19 in Windsor, 13 in Niagara, 12 in Kingston. We're holding on to some double digits right across the board. Now, as we make our way in towards the rest of our evening, it does cool down a little bit, but we're holding on above seasonal. 7 through the islands right now, 10 through Pearson tonight. We don't really see too much of a change. What we're keeping an eye on, though, is this system that making its way through, prompting some alerts for Saturday and for Sunday. They are separate. So for Saturday, it's areas that are just west of us. So the Golden Horseshoe, for us, it comes on Sunday. For everybody else, it begins on Saturday. We will break it all down in your long-range forecast and show you how long the wet weather is sticking around. But right now, I'll send things back over to Natalie and Nathan.
Okay, thank you, Jess. In Oshawa, crews are beginning the process of demolishing a house that was the scene of a terrible tragedy, a fatal fire that engulfed the home. A mother and daughter died after being pulled from the blaze. Another daughter and father still in hospital tonight. CTV's Allison Hurst is live in Oshawa. And Allison, you spoke to a friend of the family today.
Yes, we were speaking with these friends who have known the family and extended family for years, and they were talking about how the father worked tirelessly to provide for his family, how he was a local business owner here in Oshawa, worked with vehicles and even fixed the brakes on their car. And so they said when they heard everything, they wanted to help him through this tragedy.
A team of 3 searched through debris that was once a family home. Now parts of the roof are on the ground and the shell of the house exposed as the Ontario Fire Marshal uses heavy equipment to make the place safe enough for investigators to do their job.
It still hasn't hit me that, you know, what he has to deal with.
Reagan Turner's business partner is the brother of the man whose family was ripped apart in Wednesday's fire. He and his wife, Madeline, know the family well.
Very outgoing, very friendly, very hardworking. You know, very, you know, passionate towards his family, always trying to provide and be the best man for his family.
Fire tore through this house Wednesday morning at about 8 a.m. The father was able to get out, but the mother and 2 daughters were carried out by crews.
They were such a fun, loving family. It's heartbreaking to see that they're going to have to go through this process.
The 9-year-old and her 46-year-old mother died. The 12-year-old was taken to sick kids and the father to hospital, both in life-threatening condition.
Who else has donated?
The tragedy prompted the Turners to set up a GoFundMe account for the family.
I'm really hoping that it's able to give some kind of relief and they can focus on the grieving process.
and they've been in frequent contact with the dad's brother.
He is and still very shocked, and he is taking some time with it and really just processing it and trying to be there for his brother and his family at this time.
The Ontario Fire Marshal will look into the cause of the fire, where it started, and circumstances.
And investigators did get into the house today, and they were able to start looking around after that after the heavy equipment was able to sort of break down some of the house. So they have had a chance to have a look, but it's still in the very early stages of the investigation. Reporting live, I'm Allison Hurst. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Allison. There are new developments tonight in the effort to stop the Ford government from removing bike lanes in Toronto.
A group of cyclists has failed in its bid to seek a court injunction. The group had challenged provincial legislation designed to remove bike lanes on Bloor, Yonge and University, also requiring provincial permission on the installation of new bike lanes that remove a lane of vehicle traffic. There is no timeline yet on when the bike lanes will be removed, but the province had agreed to wait until March 20th while the injunction application was before the courts.
You know, the province's own experts, their own MTO staff basically confirm what it is that, you know, we've been saying all along that, and again, these are expert reports saying that removing these bike lanes won't address congestion, won't make traffic better. There is no network of secondary bike lanes that can replace them, and that more people will get injured and killed. The reports themselves say that, you know, as much as 55% more collisions on these roads, and that's not just people on bikes, that's pedestrians, that's cars as well. It's really a sign that, you know, bike lanes makes things safer for everybody.
A charter challenge is scheduled to be heard on the matter starting April 16th.
The TTC is cracking down on riders who don't pay to use the transit service. They'll soon be expanding inspections to its bus network. The agency says bus passengers may be asked to show proof of payment starting Monday morning. It says all fare inspectors will be uniformed and equipped with body cams. This is the third new initiative the TTC's rolled out in recent months as it tries to crack down on fare evasion.
The simple fact is, as most people should by now be aware, we lose about $140 million a year to fare evasion. That is a significant number. That's money that could be going to better service, to keeping fares where they are, or at least prevent them from going up in the future. So we are absolutely committed to recovering all of that lost revenue.
Previously, only customers riding streetcars or entering subway stations through fare gates were subject to random fare enforcement. Anyone caught not paying could face a fine of up to $425.
Toronto police are launching an enforcement campaign next week as well. They will be focusing on school zones post-March break. From Monday until Friday, officers will be keeping a close eye on illegal parking near schools to crack down on risks to kids and pedestrians. Special attention will be given to no stopping and no parking zones, crosswalks, and school bus loading areas.
If you've been frustrated by a bumpy drive in Toronto, some relief could be on the way. The city's launching a 24-hour pothole repair blitz starting tonight. It's the first pothole patching campaign of the year. The recent freeze-thaw cycle has exposed the problem on expressways, streets, and roadways. The city says about 235 workers divided into 73 crews will be out on 12-hour shifts to repair as many potholes as possible. Since January 1st, the city has already repaired more than 53,000 potholes.
You can expect some street closures this weekend as the 36th annual St. Patrick's Day Parade takes over parts of downtown. Irish eyes will be smiling on Sunday when participants gather at Bloor Street West and St. George Street and continue east along Bloor, then south on Yonge to Sankofa Square. Road closures will be in effect from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. The parade will take place rain or shine. If you are driving in the area, expect delays. Still ahead, marveling at the moon. Telescopes all over Toronto were ready and waiting last night, and the lunar eclipse did not disappoint. The out-of-this-world show in the sky coming up. To the latest now on Ontario's efforts to fight back against tariffs and a trade war with the United States.
You saw it as breaking news last night. Premier Doug Ford and federal leaders emerging from a meeting with U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick in Washington. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Moores has more on what's next.
It's a discussion the premier had high hopes for.
After 90 minutes behind closed doors with American officials, Doug Ford was feeling upbeat.
We're having very productive conversations. They turned out very, very well.
This was a meeting with federal cabinet ministers and U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. It came together after Ford put a 25% surcharge on electricity to 3 U.S. states.
We feel like the temperatures come down.
With the energy threat on the back burner, Ford says the meeting emphasized the closeness of the Canada-U.S. trading partnership.
And how we can continue working together to support each other.
That's not far off a Commerce Department readout of the meeting, saying the Americans highlighted the Trump administration's commitment to pursuing fair trade and Canada's potential role in those efforts. Both countries, they say, recognize the strength and history of their relationship. For the Premier, that last bit is key.
My years in business and years in government, I believe in building relationships. And I think we've come a long way in building this relationship.
While the Canadian delegation didn't walk away with any new relief on tariffs.
There's no alternative than standing up for Canadians, standing up for our workers, and standing up for our industry.
Federal ministers feel they now have a better grip on what's to come.
It was an opportunity for us to understand in a very concrete way the American process over the next few weeks.
With a new round of what U.S. President Donald Trump calls reciprocal tariffs hanging in the balance April 2nd.
Every time that you have engagement, dialogue, but also that you can voice your differences, I think it brings the discussion forward.
The next round of that discussion has been set for Washington next week. But this time, the talks will be between bureaucrats. No premier, cabinet ministers, ambassadors, or commerce secretary at the table. At Queen's Park, Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
Tariffs and a global trade war have also been front and center during G7 talks in Charlevoix, Quebec this week.
The foreign ministers put out a joint statement following the meetings that also included another stark response to any notion of Canada becoming the 51st state. CTV's Jeremy Sharon has the details.
In the face of those repeated threats to our sovereignty by U.S. President Donald Trump, the biggest question has been about what unfolded during a meeting yesterday morning between U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly, who today provided some insight.
What I said to the Secretary is Canada's sovereignty is not up to debate, period.
And Joly says some of the other G7 leaders weren't aware of how serious the threats are.
The reaction of my colleagues coming from Europe was really about this absurd threat of annexation. Was really is that a joke?
But Canada has been clear Donald Trump is very serious. And today, Secretary Rubio, speaking to U.S. reporters only here in Charlevoix, had this to say.
I'll tell you how that came about, okay? He's in a meeting with Trudeau, and Trudeau basically says that if the U.S. imposes tariffs on Canada, Canada couldn't survive as a nation state, at which point the president said, well, then you should become a state. And that's where this began. That said, the president has made an argument for why. He says he loves Canada. He says he made an argument for why Canada would be better off joining the United States from an economic perspective and the like. He's made that argument repeatedly, and I think it stands for itself.
Now, the G7 leaders here also issued a joint statement today addressing a key priority, Russia's war in Ukraine. They support the U.S.-backed ceasefire deal signed by Ukraine just days ago and warn Russia of new sanctions if Moscow doesn't also agree to a ceasefire. Jeremy Sharon, CTV News, Charlevoix, Quebec.
Germany's foreign minister is showing support for Canada in response to Donald Trump's threats. Annalena Baerbock says her country believes sovereign borders must not be breached and insists Germany and Canada are close friends that will always have each other's backs. The comments are the strongest yet from any Canadian ally.
The man accused of stealing an iconic photograph of Winston Churchill from an Ottawa hotel has pleaded guilty. The portrait of the former UK Prime Minister disappeared from the Chateau Laurier more than 3 years ago. But the theft was not discovered for months because the thief had replaced the photo with a copy. Known as the Roaring Lion, the original print was eventually tracked to Genoa, Italy, after it was sold through an auction house in London. It was returned to the Chateau Laurier in November. Today, Jeffrey Woods submitted his plea. Court heard the signature on the forged print was nearly identical to the one on the original, and while the fake was framed well, the right materials were not used.
A capsule is scheduled to lift off tonight on a mission that will bring home 2 astronauts stranded at the International Space Station for months. Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams have been at the orbiting lab since June. They were only supposed to be there for about a week, but NASA decided that several issues with their Starliner capsule made it too risky to use for the return trip to Earth. Now, a SpaceX craft is slated to blast off at 7:03 p.m. and reach the space station tomorrow night. It will deliver a new crew and bring the current crew home. The liftoff was set for this past Wednesday, but was postponed because of a problem with the craft's ground systems. Well, if you're looking a little red-eyed today, perhaps it's because you were up late last night eyeing the red moon.
A total lunar eclipse wowed amateur astronomers and seasoned scientists alike in a striking show well beyond the city skyline. It was all eyes on the sky at York University overnight, as students studying astronomy and astrophysics marveled at the moon.
Oh, that looks really cool from there.
A total lunar eclipse as the moon passed within the darkest parts of the Earth's shadow and appeared red, becoming a so-called blood moon.
The light from the sun gets filtered through the Earth's atmosphere and then gets reflected back towards us. So it's being filtered through an atmosphere that scatters blue light. It's the reason why the sky looks blue during the days, because our atmosphere is just really good at scattering that blue light around. But in terms of lunar eclipses, what happens is that all that blue light gets scattered away, and we actually see a red moon.
The moon entered the darkest part of the Earth's shadow just after 1 a.m.
It's starting totality right now.
Turning red around 2:30 in a clear night sky.
Where we're from, Bangladesh, it's always cloudy, so we don't really get to see stuff like this.
Being in the astronomy major, that's like really something very cool. It's not only for astronomy majors, like anyone who's passionate towards astronomy. It's really fascinating.
At Riverdale Park, a crowd came out with cameras, sacrificing sleep for a sneak peek.
It is worth coming out here, even though I have a meeting tomorrow at 8 a.m.
This guy called me and he said, hey, do you want to go at 2 a.m. with me to Riverdale Park to see the blood moon? And I said, you know what? I do. So I came here and honestly, I had a great time.
It's very gorgeous. It's my first time seeing it.
Even if it's cold, rains, or it snows, like no storms, like we'll still be here.
Beyond the bright lights of the city, an astronomical phenomenon watched from a world away.
There are opportunities to see what is going on beyond this Earth's atmosphere. I mean, what kind of wonders are happening outside our planet, or small planet?
A planet that, when in perfect alignment, helped paint the moon red in a solar system spectacle. And if you missed the show last night, you can mark your calendar now for next year. The next lunar eclipse will happen on the night of March 2nd, 2026.
Coming up, update your vaccinations or face possible suspension. The warning to students from public health as measles cases in the province more than doubles in 2 weeks.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, are you someone who tosses and turns at night and can't get a good night's sleep? Well, it's World Sleep Day, a time to promote getting a good night's rest. We have some advice that could help you have sweet dreams. That story is just ahead.
And another mild day today. Yesterday we got up to about 7.9 degrees, and we're continuing this above seasonal trend as we step into your weekend as well. A little midday shower activity, but still staying in the double digits, but it is going to be windy, and there's even more rain on the way for Sunday. Coming up, your full forecast. And stay with us. We have another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
Today is World Sleep Day, and if you're stifling a yawn, you may want to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of getting a good night's sleep.
But for many of us, having a restful sleep is more like a dream than a reality. But it doesn't have to be that way. Here's Pat Foran and Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Nathan and Natalie. It's no fun tossing and turning and waking up feeling like you hardly slept a wink. World Sleep Day is a day to promote the importance of a good night's rest for your health and well-being. We've all been there, tossing and turning, constantly fluffing the pillow and hoping for restful sleep that just won't come, or waking up and being unable to fall back to sleep. For Erin Ferguson, it takes time to wind down after a long day of work and caring for her 2 children.
I have a meditation app on my phone, and before bed, I'll put in my headphones and meditate.
According to a recent survey, 86% of Canadians are feeling sleep deprived. And not getting enough sleep isn't just tiring, it's bad for your health.
The truth is, not sleeping enough isn't just annoying. It can actually contribute to serious health problems, including diabetes, high blood pressure, weight gain, and depression.
Experts with the Canadian Sleep Society say you should be getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night, and don't feel guilty about it.
There's also a perception that, sleeping too much is somehow lazy, which is totally not the case. And we want to emphasize that, having enough sleep and having good quality sleep means better health and a better quality of life.
Many people use over-the-counter sleep drugs, but they can leave you feeling drowsy the next day. And while melatonin might be a good option for people who work night shifts or are jet-lagged, taking more than your body produces can cause you to be sleepy or slow the next day. One mistake people make is using their smartphone or tablet before trying to fall asleep.
That light that we see from the smartphones and screens, it tricks our brain to thinking it's daytime, and why should you sleep then?
If you must use devices, use the nighttime mode on your phone to reduce blue light and try to shut off screens 30 minutes before bedtime. Along with meditation, there are sleep apps that can prepare you for sleep, and you may benefit from the use of a white noise machine. You should avoid nicotine, caffeine, and alcohol before going to bed and try to create a restful environment.
We like to tell everyone to keep your sleeping quarters cool, dark, and quiet, and have, as comfortable as a mattress as you can get.
And having a sleep routine and going to bed at the same time each night and waking up at the same time each day can also help you have sweet dreams and a more restful sleep. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Well, that's the end of March break. Weather-wise, it was pretty good. We had one cool day, but otherwise lots of sunshine. But things are going to change tomorrow, and I'm thinking about those who might be heading to the big St. Patrick's Day parade.
Might be time to pack a poncho, a green one if you have it for St. Patrick's Day. But, raining on the parade, as you say, Jess, it won't be that bad. It'll be warm. Could be worse.
You know what? We can withstand a lot, right? As long as you're prepared, it's really not too bad. But the best part about this rain is it washes away all that dust and that leftover snow. So if you kind of have that hard kind of cement-like snow at the end of your driveway, the end of your street, hopefully the rain will do some good and wash all of that away. Really, the week has been one that has been for the books when it comes to March breaks, being able to spend some time outside, even with a very slight cool down through that midpoint of the week. And if you were out early on today, getting your steps in, it was absolutely stunning out there. The good news is, as we head in towards the weekend, we hold on to some really nice weather. It just comes with a little bit of rain. But if you were down by the water today, getting your steps in, maybe walking the dog, it was pretty fantastic. A little bit gusty, though, as we get into this end part of our day, and we'll see those winds pick up as we head into the day tomorrow. But for now, we're going to enjoy the fact that it's been a relatively mild end to the week. We're still sitting at 10 degrees here in the city, 16 through Windsor, 15 in Wyerton, 9 in Timmins. Everyone kind of feeling the warmth thanks to a more southerly flow to the wind. As we head into this evening, we'll sit at 7 degrees, well above the seasonal mark. And we even have a few people in double-digit territory tonight when it comes to those communities through London, Goderich, and Owen Sound. We step into the beginning of our weekend, maybe people wrapping up their March break travels. Mild, but it is going to be a little soggy. Not a soaker of a day. We do have a bit of a reprieve through the afternoon, but just keep that in mind, that midpoint of your day likely to be a bit of a wet one thanks to the beginnings of a Colorado low. So as we head throughout the beginning of the weekend and the end of the weekend, it's prompting two different special weather statements. One for Saturday, anywhere west of the Golden Horseshoe, they're looking at 20 to 40 millimeters. For us here in the GTA and around the Golden Horseshoe, so Niagara through Toronto and out towards Kingston and Ottawa, that's Sunday for us. And we're looking at 15 to 25 millimeters. The heavier rain for everybody is going to be on Sunday, so keep that in mind if you have those outdoor plans. As we head throughout the rest of our evening, though, and starting the day tomorrow, it's not too bad. But we do see that round of showers. The first one come through, and then the second one is in the evening. Timing out the rest of our night, if you do have some Friday night plans, it'll be dry and relatively mild outside, so you can get out and enjoy without needing all those extra layers. The first round of rain tomorrow begins at about 9 a.m. from Owen Sound, stretching all the way down to London through to Windsor. We get a break in the morning in the GTA. This for us comes around lunchtime. It's not a heavy shower kind of activity, but we are just going to notice it if you're out during that midpoint of the day. And then the afternoon's actually looking not that bad. We'll see a decent amount of sunshine and a daytime high 14, maybe 16 degrees if we're lucky. As we head in towards our Saturday evening, that's when the heavier rain starts to push in, and then it becomes widespread showers off and on throughout the end of our Saturday and to start off our Sunday with embedded thunderstorms. That's where you have that yellow and that orange there. So keep that in mind when you have these really heavy localized downpours. Localized flooding is very possible, so keep that kind of in mind when it comes to traveling. If you are heading out, though, at any point, whether you're taking in parades or celebrating St. Patrick's Day a little early, it is going to be a soggy one, at least for the first half of the day. And then as we head into the afternoon and evening, we get a break. There is, however, as temperatures drop, the chance of some wet flurries along those eastern shorelines of Lake Huron and Georgian Bay. So again, for folks traveling maybe back from March break, keep that in mind. But overall, it's a pretty short-lived system when it comes to that second half of our day. And then we get a beautiful week next week. Temperature-wise, throughout the weekend, we're well above seasonal. We should be around 5 degrees for the high. We're nowhere near that. So if you like a warmer spring, we have that and then some throughout your Saturday and Sunday. We get into Monday, it does cool down, but that is just back to where we should be. But the sunshine returns. And as we head throughout the weekend, we get ready to kick off the astronomical start to the spring season. We had the meteorological one on the 1st. The astronomical one comes later on in the week. We will have 10 degrees, but there's a likelihood of showers. But that's the only rainy day as we kind of make our way throughout the majority of next week. So as we return to the regular schedule for school and things like that, it'll be a pretty fantastic forecast. Natalie, I'll send things back over to you.
Thank you, Jess.
Thanks.
Also tonight, celebrating good over evil with color as millions of Hindus around the globe observe Holi. A look at the religious festival coming up. As cases of measles rise in Ontario, public health officials have been encouraging immunization.
Now, some school boards are warning of possible suspensions for students not vaccinated. CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan has the details.
In recent weeks, Ontario has had 173 confirmed cases of measles, and the Chief Medical Officer of Health says the total for 2025 so far is 350 cases, including 31 hospitalizations. In a statement, Dr. Kieran Moore says, "This is the most measles cases Ontario has seen in over a decade. It is critical we work together to mitigate further spread of this vaccine-preventable disease." Dr. Moore goes on to say more than 96% are in unimmunized people or those with unknown vaccine status, and children are the biggest concern. The Immunization of School Pupils Act requires that students be vaccinated against 9 illnesses: diphtheria, tetanus, polio, measles, mumps, rubella, meningococcal disease, pertussis or whooping cough, and varicella or chickenpox. In Hamilton, public health officials have been contacting families since the start of the school year.
We provided those screening letters identifying where that record may not be up to date to just under 9,000 students within the city of Hamilton. And that resulted in a huge flood of records coming in.
A date of enforcement notification was subsequently sent out, and on March 8th, more than 2,500 students with incomplete vaccination records were suspended. In Toronto, letters from public health went out to more than 18,000 families of grade 11 students, the cohort that missed regular school-based vaccinations in grade 7 because of the pandemic. Suspension orders were sent out by mail on February 24th for students without completed vaccination records or a valid exemption. Active suspensions are set to begin on April 8th.
We know that protection against all sorts of vaccine-preventable diseases is actually really important to child health, and that includes things such as tetanus and diphtheria and polio and pertussis or whooping cough. And so while measles might be the one that's at the forefront of people's mind, there certainly are many, many vaccine-preventable diseases.
It is the parent's responsibility to notify public health when a child receives a vaccination, and if you don't have a family physician, walk-in clinics or public health can help you arrange to get that vaccination. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
A vibrant celebration has begun around the world. Colored water was sprayed on a large crowd in India today. Millions of people in South Asia and other parts of the globe are celebrating Holi, the Hindu festival of colors. The ancient tradition marks the end of winter and is meant to be a time of forgiveness, friendship, and the triumph of good over evil.
Some good news for fans of Ted Lasso. The popular show is coming back for another season.
The Ted Lasso welcome wagon has arrived.
Ted!
Apple TV Plus confirmed today that the hit show will return for a 4th season. Ted Lasso stars Jason Sudeikis as an American football coach tasked with coaching a UK soccer club. Sudeikis is hinting that the new season will be about taking chances.
After the break, shooting for the stars. WNBA officials hold a basketball clinic in Thornhill to empower and elevate young girls through sports. That's coming up.
There will be other news in the coming days with respect to ensuring that we have as strong a mandate that is needed for the time.
Updating our top stories, it appears there will be a federal election sooner rather than later. Mark Carney signaled an early vote today, hours after being sworn in as Canada's 24th Prime Minister. The former central bank governor also said the carbon tax will come to an end April 1st.
We're having very productive conversations. It turned out very, very well.
Ontario's premier commenting after yesterday's meeting with U.S. officials in Washington. Doug Ford says he thinks tensions over the U.S. tariffs and Canadian countermeasures have somewhat subsided, but the White House is still planning to impose so-called reciprocal tariffs on April 2nd. Next week, bureaucrats from both countries will sit down for talks in D.C.
Oh, that looks really cool from there.
Marveling at the moon, stargazers in the GTA and beyond enjoyed a total lunar eclipse overnight. The moon passed within the darkest part of the Earth's shadow, appearing red. The ideal view time was around 2:30 in the morning in the clear night sky. A total lunar eclipse is not nearly as rare as a total solar eclipse.
Remember to keep up to date day and night at ctvnewstoronto.ca and by downloading the CTV News app. And if you have a news tip, photos, or video of breaking news, let us know.
North American markets bounced back today after an up and down week as investors digested the details of the trade war. BNN Bloomberg's Marilla Fernandez has tonight's business report.
Let's start with NFI stock, which was on a tear today, spiking 13%. The company, based in Manitoba, makes buses. NFI struggled last year because of a seat shortage, but still pulled in $837 million American in revenue last quarter. NFI also just won a contract to build 170 diesel buses for a region in Ontario. Jittery investors have been buying gold. The precious metal hit an all-time high of $3,000 an ounce early today. The trade war and decline in the American stock markets have pushed investors to find a safe place to park their money. Some analysts are now revising their outlook, saying gold could get to $3,500 an ounce by the end of the year. The North American stock markets rebounded today after being dragged down most of the week. The S&P moved into correction territory yesterday, meaning it dropped by at least 10% from its February high. So let's take a look at how things shook out. The Canadian dollar ended the day up, hitting 69.63. West Texas Intermediate up, ending the day at 67.18. According to our latest fix on Western Canadian Select, it is down to 55.51. And the TSX shot up 350 points, gaining back almost 1.5%. Those are your business headlines. In the BNN Bloomberg newsroom, I'm Marilla Fernandez.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
In sports, the Toronto Raptors are expected to welcome 2 key players back into the lineup as they kick off a 4-game road trip tonight.
He goes down and plays with their G-League team. A.J. Lawson attacking.
Toronto is going for a 3rd straight win after beating the 76ers 118-105 on Wednesday. The Raptors are in Utah this evening to play a Jazz team that has lost 7 in a row. RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley are set to return to Toronto.
Made waves in Utah, more waves than one. On Monday night, there's Nylander back across, Tavares scores!
And John Tavares scored his 27th goal of the season. Max Domi also scored, but that is all the Maple Leafs would get as they lost 3-2 to Florida last night. Toronto is now 4 points behind the Atlantic Division, leading Panthers. The Buds host Ottawa tomorrow night. Meanwhile, Toronto FC is preparing for tomorrow afternoon's home opener at BMO Field.
For whatever reason, when you're at home and your crowd's behind you, everyone's just a little bit better. Everyone's a little more energy. Better? Not always better. We've certainly played poorly at home, but you have more energy. And you come with that sort of mentality. And You know, it's one of the things we talked about. We want this place to be a very difficult place for opponents, and it's not going to just happen. We have to make that be the case.
TFC is getting a chance to practice on its home pitch after being on the road for 3 weeks to start the season. Toronto has 2 losses and 1 tie so far. Chicago Fire FC is the opponent for tomorrow's first home match starting at 2:30.
Next year, Toronto will welcome Canada's first WNBA team with the arrival of the Toronto Tempo.
Something for young athletes to aspire to as they took to the court at a basketball camp in Thornhill today. CTV's Beth McDonnell has the story.
One contest, one jump, one contest.
It's a training opportunity with the best of the best.
It's really cool because, I've never met a coach that does, WNBA.
Ashley McGee, one of the leaders at this special clinic, is an assistant coach with the Connecticut Sun in the WNBA. The session is for girls in grade 5 and 6 playing competitive basketball in the Coalition Basketball League.
I just like running down the court to try to stop a layup that's about to happen, and just the wind in my face, and it's nice.
It's showing them what's possible and what they're capable of. They had great attitude.
On top of doing some drills, the goal is to expose different ways of playing the game and strategies to make decisions on the fly. It's also a space to grow girls' knowledge of the sport.
To help them see that there's more opportunities besides being an athlete. You can be a coach, which is also a teacher. You can be a general manager. You can be in charge of operations. There's so many different pieces that go into building an organization.
Jamie Hutchinson is another leader at the clinic. She's a former professional player, now based in the GTA, who focuses on helping female players develop with a holistic approach.
Something that I knew I needed to do is create more spaces specifically for girls. So that's why I really wanted to do what I do and build up more coaches, create more opportunities.
Obviously, we want them to pick up some skills from the coaches, but it's also to hear a voice from a coach that's coaching at the highest level, and what's that like? Talk to her, maybe ask a question, come out of my shell.
Girls taking part are feeling positive about their future in basketball.
It makes me feel good that I'm growing up in a time that they're starting to respect more women and where I can grow up to get more opportunities.
A game they love with an ever brighter future. Beth McDonnell, CTV News.
Just ahead, dressing to impress and express yourself. The ultimate celebration of comic books, gaming, and sci-fi culture returns to Toronto.
Tonight, growing fears over a worsening measles outbreak in Canada.
There's this myth that it's a benign childhood illness, and nothing is further from the truth.
Pinpointing what's behind a worrying worldwide resurgence. Later on CTV National News.
And a reminder, the CTV News at 6 podcast is available as a download every weeknight. And a special happy Friday to those of you listening to the newscast live on News Talk 1010.
A colorful cast of characters has once again taken over the Metro Toronto Convention Centre.
Pop culture, comic books, and science fiction all coming to life for the return of ComicCon. CTV's Scott Lightfoot was there.
Among the thousands of people packed into the Metro Toronto Convention Centre, many have come in costume. Some look friendly, others not so much. There are figures you might recognize, and some you might not.
These are from Etsy. They're about $300. This is mostly thrifted.
The hair is natural.
Yeah. The hair is from just a cosplay website, and I styled it myself. The pearls are from a Christmas cracker.
For many here at Toronto ComicCon, it's a chance to show off the costumes they have spent months working on.
This took a lot of time, obviously. It took like a PVC pipe, lots of modeling clay. Lots of people love it. I am hitting a lot of people by accident, so.
That's part of the fun.
Yeah, it is, it is.
What's your costume?
Me.
And then there are those not in costume, too. Mom Carrie Ann Foster is at her first Comic-Con with her kids.
They're enjoying it. I'm just here because of them. And actually, the costumes are cool.
From celebrity signings and photo opportunities to thousands of comic books to replica weaponry, collectibles, and fan art. There are lots of things you can spend your money on.
55.
But many here say the biggest draw at Comic-Con is community.
The most exciting part for me is getting into the cosplays. It gives me a chance to express the characters I like and meet other people from the same fandoms who like the same characters as me.
I really get to express myself, dress up how I want to, and it's like very friendly environment and stuff, and it's just an enjoyable place to be.
Everyone kind of just joins together, and like, you know, everyone, even if you have a niche, everyone's here. You can find someone who likes what you like, and it's community. You find a community here.
ComicCon runs all weekend from 10 until 8 on Saturday, and again from 10 until 5 on Sunday. Scott Lightfoot, CTV News.
All right, I should say a correction for the kids. March break is not over.
Yeah.
You have Saturday, you have Sunday. That's plenty of time. There's lots to do in the city.
Yes.
You've got the parade. You've also got ComicCon.
You've got ComicCon. Scott Lightfoot still did not have a costume on. We talked about it at noon. He said he was going to come back with one at 6, but here we go.
Listen, maybe he's going after, he's done work. But it is true. You still have so much weekend left, right? It feels like we had such a great week for kids to be outside, for people in general, just to get out and enjoy some sunshine. It does stay warm this weekend, but it is going to be a little soggy. Not a wash of a day Saturday or Sunday, but just keep in mind we're looking at heavier rain as we head throughout the end of your weekend. Right now, just some light cloud cover out there. We're sitting at 10 degrees, still 16 in Windsor, the same through areas through London. If you are heading to the parade on Sunday, pack your umbrella. You're going to need it. But the good news is it's relatively mild, but the wind is going to be quite gusty, so keep that in mind when it comes to spending time outside. But we are holding on to double digits until Monday. Bit of a cool down, but overall, it's not too bad.
Very good. I'll take it. Thank you, Jess. Be sure to join Heather Butts tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Sean Leithong with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and all of us here at CTV News, thank you for watching and have a good night.